I, 17M, live with my parents and my younger siblings. We were very close until recently. My first mom died when I was 6 days old. She developed eclampsia in late stages of the pregnancy with me and she never recovered from it. A few weeks later my dad packed up and moved with me because he couldn't stay where they were planning a life together. This left her family behind. She has parents, siblings, nieces and nephews, aunts, uncles and cousins who were always a very tight-knit family. My dad met my adoptive mom when I was 7 months old. Out of insecurity on my mom's part and a desire to forget the future he had planned with my mom, contact between my biological maternal side was limited to once a year. My mom didn't want to share the role of mom. She knew my family would want to talk about my mom around me and would want me to know that she existed. But she didn't want to feel like she was less of a true mom. And my dad has just never gotten over the pain of losing my mom, and he buries the past and her to cope. I don't fully understand why they couldn't put me first in that decision. But they didn't. My childhood was mostly happy. It had some negatives like wishing I knew my family better or had known my mom. Also, I wasn't accepted by my adopted mom's family, so that was always fun. Then I had more contact with my family. It started with texting, calling and Zoom calls regularly and then convincing my dad to let me go for a weekend here and there. He and my mom did not like it and the decision confused my siblings too. I have loved getting to know them and they have loved getting to know me. Grandparents' rights weren't an option for them because of that one visit a year. So seeing me more is huge for them. My parents really started to let me know how much they disliked all this extra contact. My dad said it's painful and my mom told me she feels less important because I am chasing a relationship that ties to a mom I don't remember. A couple of weeks ago they told me I should think of them and my mom's feelings. I asked them how they would feel if they were in my mom's shoes or her family's shoes. If they died while their child was just a baby and they were erased by their spouse and his new spouse, would they be okay with that? And would they be okay if my siblings or I died with a newborn and they never got to be a real part of their lives? They refused to answer. I told them I didn't want to speak until they gave me an answer because they were being totally unfair to me. My parents are angry about this and my siblings asked me why I had to make this such a big deal. So I posed the question, if one of us died and we never got to see their only child, would they be okay with that? It helped them to understand, but my parents don't like my no-talking thing. But all they want to talk about is this topic. And they also won't give me an answer. Comment 1, NTA: just make it clear to them that you don't love them any less. But you want to have a relationship with all your family. Not just them. And since you are referring to your stepmom as mom, that tells me you do love and see her as your mom. Try giving her a hug and tell her that you do love her. But you need to be a part of the rest of your family too. OP comment: I always told them I love them. I always hugged and loved my mom. But she is very deeply insecure about this and jealous. She's jealous that I had a mom before her and a family who is nothing to do with her. Comment 2. NTA: I'm so glad that your bio mom's family has been so persistent. I think my advice will be unpopular, but I'm going to share it. If your dad and step/adopted mom have been otherwise good to you, let this go. People are strange, emotional creatures who make bad decisions. Even grown-ups. Especially grieving grown-ups. And make no mistake, this was a bad decision. You are nearly 18 and can full embrace your maternal family on your own. Your parents will have no say and can make their own decisions about how they react and face the consequences of their reactions. You get to go into adulthood with 2 loving families and peace of mind. If I don't go, he, by extension, can't go because it's my family's cabin, for the record. We are both 30. We have 4 children combined. The youngest is 6 months old. I'm not sure what it is about his family, but our daughter screams every single time these people are around us, every other week, at least. Whenever they come over I find myself beyond stressed out because my daughter screams the entire time and his family thinks it's funny. Like they pass her around while she's screaming and they laugh about it, and it takes them forever to hand her back to me to get her calmed down. And all of them claim that she acts like that because I spoil her. His family consists of his mom, his 2 sisters, and both of his sisters have 1 daughter each, 15 and 13. Our daughter doesn't act like this when it comes to anyone else. Family, friends, or complete strangers. She loves people. But the second any of my husband's family come around, she's screaming from the time they show up and until they leave, unless I physically leave the room with her. Anyways, I needed a vacation. I asked my parents if I could use their cabin for a week next week, and they said yes. My husband, for whatever reason, decided that he wanted his mom to come, and she invited her daughters. So I'm getting text messages saying what should I bring? And whatever else. I never wanted them to come. I asked my husband why the duck he would invite his family when it pretty much sets in stone that I will have an absolute nightmare of a time because our daughter does not like these people. The whole point of a damn vacation was to relax, not add more stress to it by basically ensuring that our daughter will not be set down for a split second because she is afraid of his family. He said that he thought it would be fine because we had talked in the past, pre-baby, about inviting them to the cabin for a family vacation, and said that maybe having our daughter surrounded with all of them for a week would make her like them. I told him I'm 100% not okay with that, and he needs to tell them that none of them are welcome, even his mother, whom I can't stand to be around due to her constant baby advice. You need to put her the duck down, she acts like that because you spoil her. He said he doesn't feel comfortable telling them they can't go because he already said they could, and he doesn't want to offend anyone. I snapped and said either tell them they aren't ducking coming or me and the kids won't go. Better yet, you can stay home with your family and me and the kids will go without you. He slammed off to his office and shut the door and is now not speaking to me. He says that I'm deliberately cutting his family out and have been since the baby was born, and honestly, I feel like cutting his family out because it stresses me out having a baby scream for hours whenever they come here, and I'm tired of it because it's me who has to deal with it. Comment 1. NTA. You need a break. You need a long break from your husband's family, and from your husband as well. Cancel this trip, set up another vacation for you and the children without telling your husband about it, and just go, tell him on the way out. And I'd consider separation. Your husband is massively boundary challenged and disrespecting you. Comment 2. NTA. Lay down the law, girl, and if you have to tell them yourself, tell them, because it's your family's cabin, and he had no right inviting anyone without your permission in the first place. Husband or not, he should have asked, and if you said no, respected it. Tell him if his mother and them matter that much to him, he can go be with them. Don't let him gaslight you saying if it was your family it would be different, because he's only saying that because it's his family. If it was yours he'd be on board about them not coming. I recently babysat my grandchildren, 5 and 4, for a period of 4 nights and 5 days, so my son and his wife could attend a wedding in Mexico and spend a few days on vacation. They approached me since her mother would not be available, and I initially said I wasn't comfortable with that. It seemed like a long time to watch the kids, and she has point blank told me that the woman's family is more important than the man's, so I was irritated I was being asked and not her mother. I will admit that I did give in when my son became very emotional, but I feel like they were being manipulative. While I had the kids, I was invited to a birthday at Epcot and wanted to go. It didn't even occur to me to run it by my son or daughter-in-law, as I had the kids for an extended period of time and obviously they knew they would be going where I went. My daughter-in-law had previously mentioned wanting to save up for Disney, but she said that about a lot of things, and never made me aware it was something super special to her. Also, it was Epcot. It's not like I took them to Magic Kingdom and they had some magical moment of seeing their favorite character. When they returned and found out, my daughter-in-law was furious and burst into tears. She said I stole one of her kids first and called me entitled. To be honest, I didn't react well to being called entitled, when she was the one who had previously demanded babysitting. My son asked me to apologize as she was distraught over missing their first Disney trip, but I declined and asked them to leave. My son reached out again and said I should have asked for something that big, and his wife feels robbed. I know she is a huge Disney person, but it was Epcot, not quintessential Disney, and I don't feel I should have had to miss out on a birthday party I wanted to attend. I told my son I'm not apologizing for anything and maybe they should think about how they made me feel when they didn't respect my initial no. Comment 1. I'm going to go with NTA, but I don't understand the importance people put on the first time at Disney or really Disney parks. I think you should have cleared with them that you could take the kids places, but really otherwise the daughter-in-law is being unreasonable. They left the kids with you, and you showed them a good time. What if it would have been a water park? Or another kid spot? You fed them, you entertained them, they were not neglected or in danger, they were with a grandparent who seems to love them, although you do seem a bit cold. May. Still NTA in my books, your son and his wife are super silly and ungrateful. Comment 2. Your son was wrong, NTA. Yes, I get Disney is a big deal, but hello, they are 5 and 4. It wasn't like you planned a whole week and stayed on property and planned meals and the whole show. They asked you to watch their kids while they were away. It sounds like your daughter-in-law will find any reason to be mad at you. Your son is doing the right thing and supporting his wife. Not sure she understands the meaning of entitled. And she needs to check her attitude when you are the one that made yourself available to help them out when her mother didn't. Comment 3. NTA. You can't insist or even ask someone to babysit then get upset when they continue to live their life while they have the kids. You went to an amusement park for crying out loud. You didn't pierce ears or get them tattooed, you're all good. My F30 sister Kim F33 had her birthday dinner 2 nights ago. There were about 12 people in attendance. Kim and I aren't close. She was the golden child and I was the scapegoat. Kim was always very cruel to me and got away with it because my mom never held her accountable. Kim had one too many drinks at dinner and began telling an incredibly traumatizing story from my childhood. Kim constantly tells this story as if it's goofy and light-hearted. The trauma from this situation impacts my daily life. When I was 9 and Kim was 12, we were at my neighbor Nate's house, who was 13. Nate had an old storage trunk in his room. Kim convinced me to get in the trunk. The trunk had a built-in lock that didn't work. Once I was inside, they closed the lid, and somehow, the lock on the trunk suddenly worked again. They tried for several minutes to get it open. At first, I thought they were just messing with me, and pretending they couldn't open it. Once I realized they weren't joking, I began to panic. Nate refused to get his parents because he didn't want to get in trouble. He then began making jokes to scare me like let's throw the trunk down the stairs to see if that opens it and let's set it on fire and burn her out. After an hour of being trapped in there, he said I'm not getting in trouble for this, I'm going to watch TV. He and Kim left the room to go watch TV while I cried and panicked. They came back an hour later and tried opening the trunk again. My legs had gone numb and my whole body was aching. I had been crying for hours and told them I felt like I was running out of air. They discussed how they could get me out without getting trouble. Finally, after almost 3 hours of being stuck in there, he finally got his parents. His dad came running in with a crowbar and pried the lid open. His parents apologized to me profusely and grounded Nate. My parents did nothing to discipline Kim and told me I was being dramatic. That experience traumatized me, and to this day, I am severely claustrophobic. I can't even cuddle my fiancé because it's too constricting. Kim began telling the trunk story for the 1000th time, laughing throughout as if it was an amusing childhood story. Without raising my voice, I cut her off and said that's not a funny story, Kim. You're always telling this story like it's a cute tale from our youth. That was traumatizing. I have regular nightmares and flashbacks from that day. To this day, I have extreme claustrophobia. I could have died from suffocation. It's not like I was in there for 10 minutes, I was in there for almost 3 hours. Everyone got really quiet, and just kind of awkwardly stared at their food. We sat in silence for the rest of the meal. It definitely killed the vibe. Kim and my mom sent me angry texts saying that I owed Kim an apology for making a scene and ruining her birthday. Every time she tells that story, it's like I'm in the trunk again. All the trauma comes flooding back. Comment 1. NTA, but you need some boundaries. If this has happened 1,000 times and you keep coming back for more of it, at a certain point you kind of become a professional victim. From now on, when they want to drag you into another unpleasant social interaction, tell them you're busy and go live your life. Comment 2. NTA. My brother used to roll out stories that were traumatizing to me, including his ginormous dog who grabbed my wrist in front of my young children. When I finally calmly said I didn't find it amusing, he stormed off to leave. What a relief to tell my truth and stick to it. I'm so sorry your family is so fracked up, it had to be a horrible experience. Comment 3. NTA. Every time she tells that story you need to do the same thing, kill the vibe. Make it up fun for her to tell it. Maybe even start telling it whenever conversations turn to things that have traumatized people. Constantly bring this up in front of your family or remind them of what she did to you and how it wasn't a funny story, but was actually a traumatic life-altering event. Make her and your parents cringe and wince every time that story is brought up instead of laugh.